Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Saturday morning, so you know it's time for another live edition of the Extra Point. We got the hit makers, the original monsters in the house from the old 16 days, the radio days. We got Tasha T. Sizzle and Michigan Mike in the house. How goes it today?
It goes well. It's freezing here in Dallas area.
You look warm in there. I don't look like you're sweating, Mike. You ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Tell us what's the weather like in the DR.
I know nothing of cold.
Oh, that's right. You and your sandy beaches. Nobody cares about your sandy beaches.
Your sandy beach.
We have a jam-packed show, of course, for you today. But before we can get into any back and forth with the my expert panel here, a word from our sponsor.
We are sponsored by May Jane's Coffee. That's MAEJANES coffee.com. You can get your Colombian and your whiskey blend coffee. She is slowing production down just a little. So if you're trying to order online and it shows that something's not available because it's harder for her to get the product now, but she will have it for you once it's available. And again, thank you for continuing to support her, my daughter, and everything that she's doing when it comes to this coffee, because again, it is named after both of her great grandmothers. So again, that's May Jane's Coffee, MAEJANES coffee.com.
Excellent. And the show is also brought to you by
Wolverine Comics. That's Wolverine_Comics TX. We have all y'all's Black Panther comics and cards. We're going to do an auction here soon, so come check us out.
Excellent. Make sure you check him out on Instagram and right here at the Extra Point. Now, y'all know that the Black Panther was just released. So if you need to catch up on any comics, holla at your boy. When you get your comics, make sure you get your May Jane's coffee. Get your sip on, get your read on. It's a beautiful thing. Now, Mike, Tasha, we had another chaotic Saturday last week. And I only wish we're gonna send an early shout out to Coop because he's not gonna be here to defend his conference. But we got to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. There was a beatdown of every proportions last week. A Tennessee Vols, sorry, mama. Caught the pants
whooping
by the University of Georgia. And before we get into the poll, I want to get you all's thoughts on this because we didn't get this on wax. Mike, your thoughts about what Georgia did to Tennessee last week?
Man. I mean, they definitely sent a message like, oh, you want to put us back. We have the belt. We're still undefeated. And then you want to drop us in ranking? Okay. Come up here then. And then they done got their belt and just, going to town.
When the parent do this.
That was definitely personal, and America saw that. So
it was. Tasha, your thoughts on how Tennessee looks so anemic against Georgia? Good Georgia defense or bad Tennessee offense?
Well, the thing was, Mike was trying to talk everybody into saying the Georgia defense wasn't any good, which I said, no, they are. What happened to Tennessee? They messed around and found out. That's what happened. I still think Tennessee has a lot left in the tank. The offense just wasn't moving like it. I don't know. You know how sometimes when you get that number one ranking, if you're not accustomed to being there, you don't know how to handle it. That's the same thing that happened to Mississippi State. They were number one, first time ever in the history of the school.
Right.
And they couldn't hold on to it because they didn't know how to be there.
Right.
They couldn't act like they've been there before because they ain't never been there before. Even though UT has, this particular squad under a new regime, something that is not, because Heupel's not a UT guy.
Right.
So I think that kind of played a part in it.
And that loss gave us a shakeup in the college football rankings. We now have Georgia, the undisputed number one team in the nation. Ohio State, number two. We're going to get to them as the show progresses, but they look very shaky against an anemic Northwestern last week. They're blaming the weather. Don't do that, Ohio State.
And they're blaming the weather again this weekend.
Oh, against Indiana. We shall see how that turns out here in a couple hours. Michigan comes in at 3 after an impressive second half against Rutgers last week. TCU, number 4, finally getting their just due in a huge spotlight game today against Texas in Austin, where they are the underdog. Tasha, let's start with you. Any problems with this week's rankings?
No, these are the 4 undefeated teams. So at this point, you're ranking as just, but we all know that you don't have to always be undefeated to go to the playoff.
If you're in a certain conference, but keep going.
Well, yeah, because remember LSU had 2 losses that one year, and they with Les Miles, and they ended up winning the national championship.
Yeah, they did. They did. Mike, you have any problems with the way that the rankings shook out this week?
The only problem I have is Ohio above Michigan. And I think that's because that's that video I sent you from I forgot his name.
Joel
From the
Black.
right. And he made a good point of saying like Ohio, yes, they're winning, but like Michigan's like winning, right? They come out second half and they're just like 100 points to 3 or something like that, some dominating fashion.
Right. There was 3 touchdowns in about a minute and 15 seconds last week.
Right. And historically, these championship teams, like they know how to adjust because obviously you've played so many games that people know what you're going to do. And for Ohio, we already know what they're going to do. So what everyone's saying is they get a bad weather. They get a one win Northwestern team in bad weather. And they're like, no, it was the weather. Nah, y'all should be able to run the ball regardless. And, in Michigan, that's why they beat them last year. Michigan is because they ran the ball and they punch you in the mouth, even though it's snowing. Like they don't care. And so that's why, I would put Michigan ahead.
Right. Shouts out to Marcus Stone checking in. Shouts out to Troy Logan checking and saying strength of schedule plays a part in the Ohio and Michigan polling, I believe. And that's been an ongoing topic of discussion here at the Extra Point since the beginning of the season. But like Michigan Mike said a couple of weeks ago, hey, you look on the schedule, you see who you play, you get on the plane, you go whoop their ass, and then you go home. That's what Michigan has pretty much done thus far. We'll see if that continues today against Nebraska. Now, Tasha, there was a team that was irritating your spirit that's now finally gone. Ding dong, Dabo, the witch is gone. Your thoughts about Clemson being out of here after getting done up by the Catholics up there in South Bend?
They shouldn't have been up there anyway.
Hey, that's the walk-off right there, Mike. You agree?
Oh, yeah. I don't think Clemson should have been up there. I don't think Notre Dame should be up there, at a 20 spot. But, it is what it is. They're still trying to make them relevant, and I get that. But yeah, Clemson.
What they're trying to do with that Notre Dame, they're going to use that to the FI's advantage.
Yeah, you're right.
Team.
Yep.
Good call by you. I didn't even think of that angle when I saw how that game unfolded. They got waxed by a team in Notre Dame who lost to Marshall. So just take that for what you will. I think the committee saw exactly what you two were saying, that all they need is one slip up, and then we're going to put the anvil around their neck and just drop them down the pole. They are out of it. Thank goodness for that. Now,
not the anvil. Did you get it from Acme?
I went and saw a comic movie last night, y'all. Give me a break. Now, again, the top 4 of you just joining us is Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. We all know that 2 of those teams play each other in a couple of weeks in Michigan and Ohio State. Now, I'm about to give you 5 through 8. Tell me, and both of you, I want you to get a crack at this. Which team do you think has the best chance of replacing the loser of the game in a couple of weeks? We have the University of Tennessee at 5, Oregon at 6, LSU at 7, USC at 8. Tasha, you're up first.
I'm actually picking TCU to lose today, so
All
you
right.
will already be there next week.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, wait a minute, let me pull the list back up again.
Coming in hot.
I thought about this, and I was like, would they be okay? A few things have to play out here. Let's just say LSU runs the gauntlet. They go to the championship and they beat Georgia. But then you got Tennessee who whooped LSU.
Put
with 40 to whatever. Do you Georgia loses, you drop them a couple of spots. Then you have UT there. Do you move LSU in and take UT out?
Mike, answer that question for Tasha.
I think you would have to in that scenario. Yeah. That's pretty hard to do. And so there has to be a reward at the end if they do that.
That's a nightmare scenario for Tennessee, by the way.
Right. But the thing is, like they always say, you have to have the SEC champion in there. But do you? If your SEC champion has 2 losses and the other and 2 other teams that are ranked have 1 loss, you jump them? Was that what the committee's going to say they're going to do? Is jump them?
I'm so glad you brought that up because Mike and I was talking offline about scenarios where Michigan and Ohio State can both make it. I think that's the only way. If LSU were to beat Georgia, and then you got all of these 1-loss teams.
Oh no,
and LSU doesn't make it.
Big Ten doesn't get the same favor. Whoever loses that game between the F5s and Michigan is out. The Big Ten doesn't get that. We don't get it.
So that's an elimination game. Is it because of the schedule of both teams respectively?
It's because the SEC is.
No, I could see it. I could see it. I could see it playing out. They would need a lot of help to talk
you
this
say
point.
Something about SEC being the top. Mike don't mind coming
Speak
in.
your mind, Mike. Speak your mind.
So I would say, of course, TCU is going to lose. So there's that. They're out of it.
Stop it. Marcus is in here. He's TCU down.
Oh.
I'm riding.
I mean, he knows too.
I mean, you think about it. You have Michigan at number 3. If they lose, they're going to drop them out of the.
No, they're going to win by like 2 points or a field goal.
If they lose, they're going to drop them out of the top 4. It's no ifs, ands, and buts about that.
They get the Anvil treatment though. Do they drop to like 10 or 11?
No, they're not going to do that. They may be the first one out. Then, if the F5s lose to a lower ranked team for some reason, they are the media darling. They're going to put them in number 4.
Right.
The media and the college football community loves them some Ohio State.
So if we have to win to get in, that's just the bottom line. If not, I can see that committee trying to sneak 3 SEC teams.
Oh my God!
There ain't no way 3 teams. Now you're getting out of hand.
I mean, again, because see, now we getting ready to go back down to the Peyton Manning and the Charles Woodson Heisman. You cannot keep. How you going to keep 2 1-loss teams out? Who, especially the one who beat the SEC champion with 2 losses? How are you going to keep them out?
So you're saying if LSU beats Georgia, then let's say it's a close game, LSU gets the benefit of the SEC champion. Georgia loses 1 game in the championship, so they're safe. And then Tennessee with a win over LSU has the best win out of the rest of those. Is that what you're saying?
I mean,
of the rest of the 1-loss team,
they beat the SEC champions. I mean, took them to the woodshed. Literally took them to the woodshed. All the LSU people want to complain. Oh, play us at night. It don't matter. Just like we saying the F5s talking about the weather. If you gonna ball, you gonna ball. No matter it's daylight, nighttime, rain, sleet, or snow, like the mailman. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just don't see how they would put LSU in, even if they win the SEC championship. I don't see
they don't deserve to be in with 2 losses. There's no need to set a precedent this year when you have so many quality 1-loss teams.
Right, you have so many.
It's not going to happen though.
Teams.
It's not going to happen.
So Mike's saying that's just an effort of futility as far as LSU goes. They might lose to Arkansas today.
I mean, we're just speaking as if they're. I mean, like we're saying UT's going to win out. We're going to say Georgia's going to win out, and then there you have the top 3, quote unquote.
If we don't make it, I don't want to play any of those teams. But I'm going to digress.
I think the Pac.
Go ahead,
I was
Mike.
going to say I think a Pac-12 is going to get in there. The Pac-12 championship, unless they just beat each other up.
I don't think
Oregon has a great chance with their only loss being to
you got
Georgia.
Oregon,
even USC.
you got SC.
USC has Notre Dame still to beat. So
and USC has the West Coast and the LA market behind them. If you want to talk about television ratings, so they stand a great chance as well.
Put them in.
Bo Nix is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country right now at Oregon. He's got those boys.
After he played, like maybe it's something about Georgia, because remember when Justin Fields left? Look what happened. Then you got Bo Nix. He was crappy, and then look.
Yeah. Oregon and USC are 2 teams to keep your eye on. I agree. Let's talk about a team that we haven't mentioned as far as possibly replacing the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State game. That is Alabama. Caught a second L last week to LSU, and Mike said it on the show last week. If there's a team out there that matches up well traditionally against Alabama, it's LSU. They proved that last week. Gave them the second loss. could have lost to Texas, should have lost to Texas A&M. They should have 4 losses. Now, Mike, I'm going to start with you. Is this just a blip on the radar, just a down season, or has the SEC finally caught up to the juggernaut Crimson Tide?
I think they've caught up as far as seeing that Alabama is human. And we kind of talked about that. And they're like, oh, they could bleed. Now, if we're talking about falling off, like they won't be relevant anymore, like absolutely not. Like they're still going to be there. And there's still going to be a problem for the SEC. But as far as just being competitive and other teams being like, oh, okay, we can hang with y'all. Yeah, I think it's more evened out for sure.
Tasha, you agree?
I didn't even think about this scenario just until now. What if LSU loses 2 more games? Alabama goes to the SEC championship.
No! Oh, Jesus, no.
I just thought about that. I just as
that
Mike
could
was
happen.
talking.
That could happen. Jesus, no. Mr. Glenn checking in says Bulldogs, Vols, Oregon, and the winner of Michigan, Ohio State. I like those matchups.
Yeah.
If we were able to do that. Now let's circle back around to what you were saying, Mike, because you brought up a good point, made me think of another question. You said that the SEC is becoming more competitive now with Alabama, but Alabama will still be in the mix. Wouldn't that be bad for the rest of the country if we're having this kind of conversation year in and year out with 3 or 4 SEC teams with 1 loss? Like Alabama used to do our bidding for us and wipe out the rest of the conference, take their spot, and then we could just, we had a lane already available because Alabama would vanquish the rest of the SEC. That's not happening anymore.
No, I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think around playoff time, I used to say you could test, your competitiveness in the bowl games, but you can't even say that anymore because they don't even take those seriously. So you have to go to the playoff games. But I think with that being said, it used to be like, okay, well, oh man, we can't play Alabama, so we can't see if we're playing against the best or how we match up against the best. But now, even if you get a bowl game against Tennessee or something like that, like, okay, let's see what we can do and where we need to improve to match up with these SEC teams. And I mean, maybe we don't know yet because we're not in the playoffs. But last year, Michigan saw, okay, Georgia's defense, okay, they do this type of offense quick. We need faster guys on the secondary. We need to, because obviously we have our good defensive line, and that didn't help because they were doing quick outs, right? So I think having those adjustments Michigan made, okay, well, let's put more emphasis on the run game. Let's do the long ball. Let's see, let's be able to test different areas. And I think that as years go by and you lose against an SEC team, as long as you're making improvements, we're going to be able to compete.
But let me go back to what you were saying about Mike. Off of Mike's point, when it comes to the SEC and Bama and Saban, I think the coaching overall, when it comes to Georgia specifically, is better.
You know who's on Georgia's coaching staff?
Yeah.
Nick Saban Jr.
Jr. Yep, his son. And also now recruits are not clamoring to go to Bama.
Ain't nobody trying to sit around and wait for 3 years to sit behind a Derrick Henry and a Mark Ingram, and then you get your chance your junior, senior year. No, kids ain't doing that no more.
I mean, I think that's part of it. And I was listening to the Pivot podcast, and where the Pouncey boys were on there, and they were saying how when they got to Florida, they were saying, they said some of the people recruiting them, and they said, LSU. They was like, come here, and we'll get you on the field, maybe your junior or senior year. And they were like, nah. They go to Florida.
With the NIL and the way everything is set up, nobody's got 3 years to wait. I need mine now.
Right.
No, that's a great point. The NIL is what made everyone like, no, I'm supposed to make money on the side. To do that, you got to be on TV.
You have got to be on TV. Correct. Go ahead and finish your point, Tasha.
And, I think it has something to do with recruiting and especially coaching, because Saban's getting a little long in the tooth, his little self. And the fact that his son is coaching at Georgia, I think that makes a difference. A lot of these coaches now, like Mike said, they're figuring out, like how when we played Georgia, they're figuring out a lot of these defenses now.
Right.
They're figuring out how Bama does it, and it's showing that it's a crack in the armor.
Right. And going back to Nick Saban Jr., nobody knows the father like the son. You know what I'm saying? So he's able to do those hidden idiosyncrasies maybe that his father has as far as
What
building
is
a
this
team.
playing? This don't have nothing to do with what we talking about.
No,
It's the players
relax,
getting on the field with
Tasha.
the NIL.
Right.
What?
We
We're
look,
trying to get these kids some money, okay?
right. Let these kids get some shine on our show as well. All right. You're all right
Just
there,
be
Tasha?
mad.
I mean, no, I was like,
Okay, you're all right.
so when it first popped off, it stopped me in my speech, and I was like, "Is this what we
Look
talking?" I'm
into
looking.
Miami eyes.
We're gonna put some blinders
Right,
on you.
look,
Like, here you go.
look.
Here you
Right,
go.
And I was
that's
like,
one thing.
"Is this Bama?"
Let's go ahead and go to the NFL then, Mike. All right. It is time for our way too early TEP awards in the NFL. Now we've got a nice sample size of games to choose from. Do you remember your preseason pick for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, Phillies and the Bills.
All right. Are you sticking with that?
Yep.
Tasha, do you remember yours?
I knew I had the Bills, and I think I had the Niners.
Yeah, Paul. Who was yours, Paul?
Mine was Baltimore and the Saints. And the Saints were healthy at the time of my pick in the preseason. So I am feeling confident about my Ravens. The Ravens will still be there. And
Oh my gosh.
Buffalo just lost to the Jets, Mike.
I mean, and that's why I said
they are 0-2 in their own division. Nobody's
I may have
Buffalo.
to change that because they the quarterback out here with the equivalent of the football version of a Tommy John's elbow.
He has a bad elbow on his throwing arm.
He got that Stafford elbow. He got the Stafford elbow. And we saw how bad Stafford looked.
Langston, I was not. It was gummies.
Happy Veterans Day, Langston.
Happy Veterans Day to you, Langston.
Yeah,
he said he's glad to have Mike back on. I guess he needs someone else to antagonize. So, Mike, please take the reins. Yeah. So I'm changing my pick after midseason. I'm going with since the Saints are obviously banged up with no quarterback the whole season. I'm going to change my pick to the 49ers for now. I think the Christian McCaffrey trade put them above the Cowboys. I like the Ravens still. The pickup of Roquan Smith from Chicago was huge for their defense. The only thing that Lamar Jackson needed was a couple of 3-and-outs on defense to hold on to the lead. So I'm going with them. Now, let's go MVP. Our way too early MVP. Who is that for you, Tasha? Who's the MVP this time?
My fantasy QB, Jalen Hurts.
Ain't no Eagles. He's playing phenomenal. He's having a great season. Mike, do you agree?
Yep, that's who I had too. Jalen Hurts.
I'm going with tennis elbow, Josh Allen. The man has over 2,800 total yards and 23 touchdowns in 8 games, although he can't beat anybody in the AFC East.
But look, had Tua not had his eggs scrambled, Tua would have been a viable candidate for MVP.
But can we call this sunny side up? Because he was just kind of laying there looking up at the stars.
I mean, look at how he's playing. And I was listening to a show, and they were saying something about it takes time for the quarterbacks to get where they need to be. Look where Josh Allen was before he got Stephon Diggs. Jalen Hurts now has an AJ Brown. Tua out here with the cheetah, and look how his game has changed. It's about getting that, getting that star piece, getting that, that piece in there. Oh, I knew it was. It was Fred Taylor, because he was talking about next year with Trevor Lawrence. Even they got what's his name that was betting on the games and got suspended this year.
Oh, Raleigh.
So if you look at that, Tua has had a phenomenal season, taking out the 2 games that he missed. When he came back, even though I didn't think he needed to play, he still went out there and produced and put numbers up. So you can't count Tua out. I think missing those 2 games is going to hurt him. But Tua's looking good.
Langston says they will catch up to Tua. His balls float a lot, kind of like JJ McCarthy. But one thing to say about Tua and Miami, you heard it right here first. The Miami Dolphins will be the reason why Kansas City or Buffalo doesn't make it back to the AFC Championship.
Right.
I would not want to play them on the road when you have the number 1 and number 3 receiver as far as receiving yards in the Cheetah and Jalen Waddle. They're both may get 1,500 yards receiving on the same team. That is incredible.
Cheetah is either more yards, either more receptions than all the teams in the league, or some.
Well, he has more than the Tennessee Titans, of course, but we're gonna digress on that. Mike, have you finally caught on to the Tua magic? Are you finally ready to give Tua his flowers?
No.
Are you gonna wait till you're dead, huh?
No, I said that, I just needed to see more consistency from him, and he was being more consistent. So yeah, to give it to your point, like, yes, he was showing me what that was, and then he got hurt, and it's like, okay, well, to be an NFL quarterback, you got to be in the game, right? So it's like,
in the game,
when you come back, are you going to be able to show us what you did? It's just a lot of hurdles. So I will say that, yeah, he's definitely turned that team around.
It's not necessarily him. I think it's the addition of those key pieces.
So you're saying that if they replace a quarterback, then they would do the same thing? Not
necessarily that. I think, like what as Paul says, Teddy Two Gloves, I call him to Daryl. I think had he gotten more reps maybe in the preseason coming in, if he knew he was the number 1 guy, it could be the same thing. But I just think it's something about Tua. I've always been kind of like a fan of Tua. I thought he was crappy, but I've always kind of rooted for the kid for whatever reason. I think because I was down with the fact that his daddy actually beat his ass, which is what a lot of kids need. But I mean, I don't think Tua is as bad as everyone thinks he is. I just think he did not have any weapons, and he didn't have the opportunity. He's got a coach that actually knows how to coach, kind of believes in him a little bit more than the previous coach. Shouts out to the brother, but the organization as a whole, I don't think they put a lot of support behind Tua. And then you have
it was like a totally different team. And I'm glad that you said support, because Brian Flores, he would pull him after 3 bad series and go, and he was put in Ryan Fitzpatrick. He put in somebody off the street. He never got a chance to really just play a whole season under the Flores regime. So, like, to your credit, and I'm glad you brought up coaching, because that's our next segue. Tasha, who's your midseason coach of the year?
I guess I have to go with Imitation of Life right now.
Well, who the hell is that?
McDaniel.
Oh, from Miami. Okay. She's staying in South Florida with it.
Mike, I mean, look at what they're doing a good job down there in Miami.
They are. They're playing great. Mike is shaking his head. No.
Moving on in a hurry, but I will keep it green. I will keep it green and say Sirianni is mine, of course.
If his mama call him Clay, I guess I'll call him Clay, but I don't know about the I mean, you got AJ Brown. I mean,
right.
You got
You got pieces that were already viable. Tua was a basically
already he built that. What are you talking about? Eagles were trash.
Tua was a dolphin floating around down there in Biscayne Bay.
Now, Langston got a little bit ahead of me, because he said, why do we overlook the Jets head coach? And we are not. Mine is Jets head coach Robert Saleh. And here's why. They're 6-3 with a win over a couple of worthy teams, but it's what he's doing it with. I remember last year when we had the debate when Brandon was on about the criteria for coach of the year, and mostly it's the coaches who do the most with the least and get it out of there. So I can kind of see where – now you see why I roll my eyes at the Eagles coach, because he's got a loaded roster.
But I don't see the Jets what do I call them? JETS mess.
In the past, but Robert Saleh is 6-3.
Gonna jet. Like Mike said, the Cowboy, the Jets gonna jet.
It's the midseason award, damn it. So at the midseason, I think Robert Saleh has done a phenomenal job with a team where he lost his number 1 running back in rookie Breece Hall a few weeks ago. He had Zach Wilson in and out of the lineup. Hell, they had the old Buffalo. I mean,
going off of what you're saying, I'm surprised you didn't pick McCarthy then.
No, because McCarthy. There's a reason why I didn't pick McCarthy, and I'm glad you brought that up, because McCarthy is just an overseer. He doesn't really coach. That is Dan Quinn's defense, and that's Kellen Moore's offense. He doesn't have anything to do with any of that. He just kind of stands. He is Brady Hoke. Well, he don't even need a headset.
Don't even bring that up.
Brady Hoke beat the Buckeyes. Let's not, because he had
With
over
no
Denard
headset.
Robinson. All right, so
Watching the game like a fan. He over there like
with no jacket.
Why did he have a headset on though? That was so.
Why he didn't wear a coat? Like, what you trying to prove?
He don't know what down and distance it is. He don't know nothing. He's like,
he got fired from San Diego State.
He watching it on the big screen when they do the replay.
He was like, "Do I look fat in this hoodie?"
Stop.
Like, come on, Brady Hope. We got to do better. All right. Okay. Now, here's the race that I'm having the most fun following, and I can't wait to see how it turns out at the end of the year. I'm the comeback player of the year. Now, I'm going to throw some names out of some notable players that were injured last year, missed at least half the season or more, and is back playing well. That's going to be Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Lamar Jackson, and even Geno, who's making a comeback out there in Seattle as a starting quarterback for a team. Pete Carroll deserves some love, too, for Coach of the Year honors, what he's doing with that roster, by the way. Who do you like right now at the midway mark, Mike, for your comeback player of the year?
I like Derrick Henry. You know, I think he's really he's really come back to the, and I wouldn't say like 100% back to where we saw him in the first couple of years he was in NFL, like running over people and all that. Now it's just more of a sustainable running back to where he gets hit, he goes down, which, you know, might be the best thing.
Long term.
I will say Geno Smith was on my radar, but my definition is you have to be good and then go down and then come back to being good as a comeback player of the year. And Geno was never at that level.
Back to something. All right, I see what you did.
So I wanted to give him a shout out because I will say he's having a great season and he's becoming a better quarterback, but it's not for a comeback player of the year.
Gotcha. Okay, good job by you, Tasha T. Sizzle. Who you rolling with?
I totally disagree with Mike. I'm going with one Eugene Cyril Smith the Third.
I wonder if you be making up these names or if this is the real.
I know everybody's government name.
That is true. She will drop your government in a minute. But go ahead, Tasha.
First of all, let's go all the way back to draft night. Okay, they didn't even want that man. They put him in the green room, then sent him home.
Right, there ain't no more room for you in the end, bro. Come back tomorrow.
Like they told Jesus. He has been totally disrespected, left out to die, which I mean, with good cause in some instances. Left out to die, left on the heat, buried. We putting sage around his tombstone. So I think him actually coming back from the dead, having a good year, I think it puts him in the running. And only reason why I don't agree, I mean, I thought about Saquon, like Langston said, but Saquon is falling off again.
Oh.
He's not putting up those when he first came out, is because he said, I have to show y'all. That's what he said. And he did.
You in a contract year, Saquon, you better ramp it up these last 7-8 games.
And he did show us, but a lot of that shine he was playing with in the beginning where it made us want to watch him, it's kind of like now it's just kind of evened out a little bit.
And to Mike's point, it's not evening out for Mr. Derrick Henry. The man is once again leading the league in rushing. Where are you, Coop Gotti, who wanted to trade him instead of A.J. Brown? Come on now. Can you imagine A.J. Brown with Malik Willis and the Titans' record the last 4 weeks would have been? Let me digress. Henry, 870 yards, 9 TDs in 8 games with 0. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 0 fumbles. That is the model of consistency. I agree with Mike totally. Now, we have a game coming up. I believe it's the Fox game of the week on Sunday. It's the Green Bay Packers hosting America's team, your team and mine, Dallas Cowboys. Let that breathe. Ain't y'all happy y'all got Dallas in the 3 o'clock slot again? Y'all missed us, didn't you? Did you miss us, Mike?
Man, you know I'll be watching highlights from the Michigan game.
He's probably right. He's probably right. Green Bay's on a 5-game losing streak. they're not catching 6-1 Minnesota. We all know that. Like they're not catching Minnesota. They probably won't make a wild card spot either with the way that the NFC East doesn't even have a team with a losing record. I don't believe. If Green Bay loses this game and goes even further in the hole, is it time to start Jordan Love, Mike, to see what you have in your first round pick before that whole contract is up?
I mean, I think so. I think that's only the move that you make. I mean, you have to think both cases, worst and best case. I think worst case scenario, he actually starts playing well and they get a middle tier, or they finish out right before the playoffs and then they get a bad draft pick. Like that's the worst case scenario. But then you actually got to that's what the transition is going for the future to build on that. I think Rodgers, the best case scenario is that he starts and he actually does really bad. Or I mean, I think that's the best case scenario because then he's tanking anyways. I mean, that's hard. I think regardless, you have to at least give him a shot.
Can you sit Tasha, a two-time reigning MVP, to get a look at the future if you're out of the playoffs, or is that just too much disrespect for a player that you're paying $50 million a year to?
No, he finna get his ass out there and play. This what you asked for. This what you wanted. We paying you. If he dies, he dies. He's getting in there.
Well,
no, he asked for help though. He's not getting no wide receiver help.
But remember how he held him hostage the season ago? He held him hostage. You know, you want this, you want that, you want to be the diva, you want to be the star. Get your ass out there in that field and play.
Do you think, Mike? To Tasha's point, do you think that's to their advantage if he's playing like poo-poo?
Yeah, because they're going to get better draft picks, and then they can go ahead and get him out there.
So, okay, let's say that is the scenario. Let's say this losing streak goes to 7, 8, 9 games. You get a top 6, 7 pick. You got Jordan Love and you got Aaron Rodgers. Do you go for another young quarterback? There's going to be several good ones coming out of this draft. Do you make a play for a hooker? Do you make a play for the kid out of Alabama, maybe C.J. Stroud?
Look, I'm getting ready to just make an executive decision.
Okay.
They need to get rid of Rodgers.
Oh, that hush fell over the crowd.
He needs to either retire or they need to get rid of him to get some more pieces along with those draft picks.
Yeah, I agree.
And I agree with Mr. Glenn. Rodgers can't beat the Lions, Commanders, or the Jets. The Cowboys are going to whip that booty. Yes, they are. Make sure you stick around. Trade Rodgers for picks and wide receivers. So Langston agrees with that? Mike, you agree with that? How do you trade Aaron Rodgers?
What is he? I mean, he's
being toxic right now.
Right. He's toxic. He's toxic to the whole organization, which
let
is
him
part
go work
they're
for
doing.
Pat McAfee since that's his mouthpiece.
Which is part they're doing. They allowed him to come in and be that way off of winning one championship.
Years ago, a decade ago.
He should have had 2.
Well, Dez caught it. So that was karma. That was karma when Seattle ran that ass down. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. There we go. Mike, let's jump back into college before we wrap this thing up. You said TCU loses today at Texas. They're a road underdog.
See, I'm getting signals from the committee by putting Texas ranked that high. They're trying to give TCU a little bit more help. However, I think Texas is one of those teams that will be a problem in the next year or the couple of years, especially with that recruiting class. But they played OU and the OU's trash now that we know, but like they got some fight in them.
Beatdown. That was epic.
And I mean TCU is still perceived by Texas as like a lower team, right? So it's like historically it's always been the Longhorns. So they still got that over them. I think it's gonna be a hard environment to play in, especially it's a night game, right? Didn't y'all say it was a night game?
I believe so.
I got Texas on this one.
Tasha, do you agree? You got the Longhorns over the Horned Frogs?
Yep.
Look, I'm gonna just tell you like this.
No,
the frogs keep frogging. The frogs keep frogging. I like their uniforms. They look like the baby ravens to me.
Yeah, their purple does go hard.
I like that.
I'm with that. Now, like you said, Texas would love to ruin TCU's season. Now, that is true, especially a division rival and the way Texas season is gone as opposed to TCU's. This could be when you call it. I don't even know if you can call this a trap game with a team like Texas and College Game Day being there. They should be up to play. Now, Tosh, let's go to your Bama boys. They play another team that's had their number over the last 10 years as far as sneaking out wins here and there. Mississippi, they got Mississippi 230 today, ranked number 9 versus number 11. Do you give Mississippi a chance?
Excuse me, that's Mississippi. Piss. You know, you have to. I was like, wait a minute. I thought we played Georgia today.
Ain't nobody said clang or nothing. Y'all gonna catch hands today. That's what I tried to leave that out of the script.
That's gonna be a.
Y'all gonna catch hands today. It's gonna be banger.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What? What if
They're gonna be over there on the side. They were like, so, anyways, when I was playing Call of Duty,
where'd you get your belt from? Costco? I got mine from Home Depot.
But that's gonna be a good game.
I
This
think so.
Alabama Ole Piss matchup.
Lane Kiffin is always ready for Saban.
heck no.
Oh, you said heck no, Mike?
Heck no. This is gonna be a butt whooping too. Yeah, Alabama's like, okay.
You confused me with your Bama takes, Mike. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little confused right now.
I know how Saban thinks, man. I think this is gonna be another statement game. So he's be like, we're relevant still. So I got Bama.
Okay, all right. It should be interesting to watch. Final question for you, Mike, before we wrap this thing up. Michigan covered the 30 against Nebraska.
Yes, sir. Started out like 25 points. Now it's at 30. I think it's gonna go higher.
Tasha, that's a lot of points. Me and you are more conservative when it comes to betting in Vegas. Would you take 30 points, Michigan at 30?
I don't know, man. Because I mean, kind of like
how Langston scared of those big numbers, like 30
I mean, kind of
points.
like how Langston said that, you know, Green Bay, that's a trap game. Nebraska
gave us all we could handle last year.
That's my point. Nebraska
and we still covered 30.
We got too many teams after us that we playing to skate without a stick.
Right. And if you're the interim coach in Nebraska, what better way to remove that tag than to knock off Michigan on ABC today?
I mean, you know, I always bet on black, but not in this case, brother. I'm sorry.
Right. No, we're gonna bet on black as Mike Hart and Blake Corum and Edwards. Oh, I love that running back tandem. Oh, wait till you get to see them, America, on a grand scale. We got 2,000-yard running backs in the backfield. Both are interchangeable. Both can run and catch. I love it. Nebraska still got a team. They do. But I'm gonna swag out and take the 30 with Mike today. Mike, you're gonna be getting texted in that second half that we start off slow again. No more block punch for touchdowns. T Sizzle, who you shouting out this week?
Who am I shouting out this week? Go to Mike.
Mike, who you shouting out this week?
I'm gonna give a shout out to the veterans. We kind of started the show out.
Yes.
I know a lot of veterans, so shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for serving.
Yes.
I want to also give a shout out to McKinney High football team. They done give a upset win against top ranked in the high school football against Capel. They only had one loss, so that was an upset. And then shout out to Paul. I don't think I've done this in a while, so good job, Paul, for putting these shows on. Brings a lot of people laughter and knowledge. So thank you. We know that you work a heavy workload during the week. So
I'll be tired. Thank you, Mike. It's my pleasure to work with y'all each and every week. Y'all make it worth the long days and the long nights. Y'all absolutely do. Again, I'll tell the people who didn't know before, back during the radio days, you didn't see these two, but they were the source of all of the crazy segments, the shut the hell ups, the sit your ass down awards, all of the stats and stuff they would pump me during the shows, the stuff they would give me during the week. Like, I could not have gotten this thing off the ground without those two. So it's only right that they sit up here with us and we all sit in the light together. Tasha, well, we'll let Langston go next. Langston wants to give a shout out to the Pearl Cone High Firebirds. 2 more games into the state championship.
nice.
Let's bring it home one time, Pearl Cone. And I'm going to jump you, Tasha, since you're still thinking. I want to give a shout out to the veterans as well, to Mike's sister, Christina. I want to give a shout out to my uncles, Leonard Coulter and Joe Tate. Thank you all for your service. To Langston, thank you all for your service. Y'all better than me. I probably couldn't do it. So I really thank you that we have the freedom to say the stuff that we say here on Wax, whether it offends some or not. T Sizzle, you get the walk off.
I'd like to give a shout out to friend of the show, Miss Melanie Taylor.
Yes.
Her birthday was this past week. Now, a lot of people don't know my grandmother kind of helped her mother when she was a young mother, when they lived lived in Edge Hill back in the day. So
I'm
Mel,
sorry.
the South Side, yes. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
so Mel has always been more like a family member. She's been more like an aunt to me. I call her Mel, and we both share a lot of things, and we have a lot of things in common. Like our favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. Go figure. But anyway, shouts out to one Miss Melanie Taylor for her birthday this past week.
And I'm going to give a final shout out to one Miss Stacy Hasso for the wonderful things that she said to me last Saturday that I will not repeat. But Stacy, if you're watching this replay, just tell Mike to tell you to forward it to the end of the show. I am so happy for you. I am so proud of you for sticking through, for being an overcomer and a winner and a warrior. I cannot wait to meet baby girl Princess Hasso. And thank you for the warm invite last week. Bring that baby on so we can spoil that thing. And now, right, you got to push. You got to
Gina.
push until you get it right. Push. Oh, sorry. And you know how it goes. We got about an hour until kickoff, so we'll let you all get to your games of choice. We will see you all in 6 days and 23 hours. Until then, go Blue plus 30.
Go Blue.
You got to push.
You got to. Mike was pushing.
Now, Mike.